Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're tuning in from. I'm Susan Treadgold, host of the High Performing Woman Talk Show. These episodes are hosted on YouTube, the High Performing Woman Talk Show. So please go like, subscribe, and I'd love to have you as a part of this community. Now, my desire with the show is to focus on female founders and female funders. Occasionally, a guy sneaks in that is inspiring to women and women's health and women's movement. But today, that is not the case. Today, I'm introducing a topic. Did you know the women of a certain age in C, financial planning for the triple decker sandwich generation? Did you know that women are set to control 30 trillion in financial assets by 2030? I might have mentioned this on an earlier episode, but that's the largest wealth transfer in history. And nearly 1 in 4 women today belong to the sandwich generation, which means they're simultaneously supporting children, aging parents, and their own financial futures. That's a ton of responsibility, but also a powerful opportunity. And that's why I'm thrilled to welcome today Sherry Finkel Murphy, founder of Madrina Molly, to the High Performing Woman Talk Show. Welcome,
Thank you for
Sherry.
having me. Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
I am so happy to have your bright, shining face at the other end of the screen. Now, let me just introduce you a little bit. Sherry is a CFP, professional and former wealth manager. She sold her business and founded Madrina Molly, and we're going to learn a bit more about that in a few minutes. She's also a Stella Foundation member. If you don't know what that is, you should find out. It's very supportive of female founders. She's an angel investor, and she's a limited partner into women-centric funds. So Sherry's ticking both boxes. She's both a founder and a funder. So welcome, Sherry.
Yay.
Yay. So I want to kick off starting about Madrina Molly, which is giving financial wisdom for women of a certain age in C. So what exactly is Madrina Molly, and why did you create it?
Thank you for asking. It's my favorite, and my favorite thing to discuss. So
you thought I'd never ask.
Yeah, right. When I was a wealth manager with a practice, my ideal calendar, and I always tell people you got to get a life too. My ideal calendar had 16 to 18 meetings per week. These, would be called high value meetings. I could not take more without compromising my life. So do the math. There are 25,000 certified financial planner practitioners who are women. That's it. There are only a little over 100,000 CFPs to begin with. So to get a credentialed planner is hard because all of the good planners have full calendars. If I can only take 16 to max 20 meetings a week, I'm taking them with people, I guess the ideal client profile. And as someone gets more tenure, that profile sort of increases and increases. And the people who are left out in the cold are the women who do everything right. They work. They are, these are employed women, maybe even high cash flow women, but they can't find somebody to teach them how to become wealthy. And Madrina Molly exists in that gap. There are plenty of services and people who will tell you, oh, you're a hot mess. Let me help you not be a hot mess. But for women who try to do the right thing, rules followers, save, spend, there isn't anybody to give them any insight, onto whether or not they're doing it right. And I have to say that almost every meeting with any woman, and some very high-powered alpha women, it would start with a box of tissues. you're going to tell me that I'm doing everything wrong. Can you imagine a woman with a net worth of $10 million saying at the first conversation, "You're gonna tell me I'm doing everything wrong." You're kidding me, right? And yet there are tears. There is, "I never knew that. Nobody ever taught me," on and on. So I guess the second mission of Madrina Molly, in addition to creating a membership model that is disturbs the way information is delivered, is I just want to ratchet down the stress, because you and I both know that women in our cohort are at danger for having stress manifest itself in some pretty nasty ways. And I'm done having women stress themselves into
Yeah.
illness.
Yeah, absolutely. I love how you're tying in financial piece with and wealth with health, and there is that intricate relationship. Tell me, you were talking about how this membership model um, disrupts the current, way of doing things. What do you mean by that?
Well, there are a variety of ways to pay for financial services from a planner. The most common is to pay a percentage of the assets you place under management with them. But that leaves them kind of suspect. Even if they're operating in a fiduciary capacity, it is to their benefit to grab your assets. It is also possible to pay commissions for products, and it is possible to pay fee only. And I do take a certain number of fee only clients per year who want
Right.
the whole 9 yards, and it's not cheap. It's not cheap, and I don't take more than a dozen clients a year, to give you an idea. So there's that calendar. So what I've done is I've created a price point that is relatively inexpensive to remove the excuse for not asking questions you don't know the answer to. And think of Dear Abby. Members get a private email, and they are in a paywalled community, and they get to ask their questions. I will then anonymize the answers. I will post it in the community. I will satisfy their questions so that they can proceed with confidence. Some some of the members have financial advisors. It's a little comical. Some of it is, oh, my husband is, the person who handles the finance, and he has a financial advisor, and he really likes him, and I don't really like him at all. And I get that a lot.
Yeah, I
So
can imagine.
I'm going to answer your questions, and I'm going to tee you up to ask better questions of your financial advisor when you have meetings, and everybody is going to go forward. And I also refer out, am developing quite a network of women CFPs who will take a client who has a particular need. So this is what I think is disruptive, this notion of filling a gap, not leaving people to be preyed on by finfluencers and people trying to sell them something.
Influencers.
I have no products to sell any longer. I do
Right,
not supply financial solutions.
right.
So I give people the pros and cons. And I am still a certified financial planner, so I am acting in a fiduciary capacity when I deliver advice as opposed to education.
Right. I love that. So we were talking earlier. Look, what is this triple decker club sandwich generation, and why do we need a new planning roadmap for that?
That's a big area, and permission to get nerdy on you, please.
Go for it. Nerd away.
Okay. This is the first time in the history of mankind that we have 4 and 5 generations living contemporaneously. In the early 19th century, the biggest problem plaguing society was child mortality. Yes, life expectancy was this is average life expectancy. I mean, Ben
Right.
Franklin lived to 85, but average life expectancy was in the high 40s. And that was just disease, cleanliness, the normal stuff. But child mortality was a tremendous problem. And um, the great thinkers and scientists of the 19th century went a long way to reducing child mortality, bringing more people into adulthood. And that's where we started the 20th century. In the mid 20th century, life expectancy for an adult was in the mid 60s, right? That's kind of the arbitrary reason 65 is always used as a number. Well, by the late 20th century, we unexpectedly gained 10 to 15 years of life. And it's crazy, but nobody's going anywhere at 65. They're going somewhere at 85. And I think that we need to normalize that you are going to have an 85-year-old parent, maybe a 90-year-old parent
So my
that
parents are actually 85.
right, right.
They're still
So
living independently.
I have some things to say about that relative to plannings because it does dovetail with why we need a new planning model. Um, but first, let me talk about actuarial age versus chronological age. When you read the paper, you find out that the actuaries think you're going to live to a certain age. What they don't tell you is that is your age at 50. So right now, 50 at 50, US men are expected to live to 81-ish and women 83. And again, that's an average and it does differ by ethnicity. But what they don't tell you is that if you get to 65, well, now you're going to live to 85 and 87. And again, if
So
you if
once
you
you
are
pass the next hurdle, your
right.
life expectancy goes up.
Now I have a question for you. Let's say you went to work at age 22 and you're 50 and you're listening to this podcast. You have been working for 33 years. Your life expectancy is 83. So you have another 33 years to make good use of. When people tell me I'm worried that I'm worried about retirement or I'm just worried in general, I don't have enough time to fix whatever jam I've gotten into, my response is, are you kidding me? It may not look like it did when you were 22, but you have the same amount of time to create something, to start something and finish something, to build something and sell something. So I get very excited about that. You can see that
It's
I'm starting
great.
to
I mean, it sounds like your message is it's never too late. Although compound interest at age 22 looks a little bit different than compound
I,
interest at age
a-
52.
and that's okay. That's okay. But it's compounding. So yes, I do have to put it away, but I still have 10 and 20 and 30 years to put it away. I also have the ability and maybe the gravitas, the benefit of experience to create a consultancy that supports me. I don't care if it's an Etsy shop or an actual shingle, but that supports me into my 70s. Um, so you get it. When you're 65,
Yeah.
you have 20, 22, 24 years to go. And that's, I think, the key that people don't realize that we used to refer to the decade in our 70s as rocking chair decade. And now it's a very active decade.
I know lots of
Um,
people that are still working in that decade. Maybe
absolutely.
not full time, but they still have streams of income.
Well, I applaud that creativity and the streams of income because even wealthy people have a hard time funding a 40-year retirement, not to mention the fact that they're bored. Um,
Yeah.
so, oh, thank you for putting that up. I
But
wanted
yeah,
to talk
I
about
have
that.
this slide. Tell me about this.
So, with four generations living contemporaneously, it alters our need for a planning model that works. And let me point out that the financial planning domain is built on the data of que quiere decir white 20th century men, just like healthcare. And so we need to write ourselves into the data. We need to use women's examples. And of course, women go in and out of the workforce more frequently. We have very different careers than our male counterparts. So if I am in, actually, I think we've got our slides backwards here. Can you pull up the other slide? I want to start with the other slide.
Do you know what? I'm not sure if I have. Is that the one you're talking about?
Nope, one behind it.
I think I may be missing that one. I thought it was a duplicate and I deleted it.
It's not a duplicate. So let's talk with this slide. That's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
In the past, I might have had, and this is a generation and a half ago, I might have had my kids in my 20s, or I should say, a generation and a half before me. And if I had my kids in my 20s, that means that by the time I retire at 65, my kids are 30. My kids are 35. They're well on their way. And my parents are gone. Just sad truth of the universe. The chances are good my parents would have already passed. Well, now, when I'm 65, my kids, who I now had between 30 and 35, may be just on the cusp of launching, or they may just be starting their families and need my help. So they're 30 years old, not 35 or 40 years old. And my parents have entered their season of frailty. They're 85 years old and they're still living at home. Now, you tell me, I'm 65 and I retire from work. Do I really feel comfortable gallivanting around the world for 2 months as a celebratory gift to myself if I have an 85-year-old mother at home? No, that changes the equation. And we need to recognize that. So for a variety of reasons, and I can even make the math work, I encourage people to take a big old sabbatical at about age 55. And the reason is because your kids are old enough, they're 20, so they won't burn down the house, but they may not be launched, so you may not be on grandma duty yet.
Right.
But your parents are only 75. They're in that active decade that we discussed. They're not yet frail. And that makes a big difference relative to your ability to hop a flight and do the thing, whatever the thing is. And I think the other point to be made, hearkening back to what you said about compounding, money you put away late in your career is not as valuable as money you put away early. So you might be better off spending your retirement contribution, the 20 or 30,000 that you do to max out your 401k between 60 and 64, you might be better off spending that. And the reason is because if you give your nest egg a little extra room to grow, that compounding is going to be more meaningful. And I have some math. Actually, can you pop up that slide? Because I'll go right to that slide.
Sure.
Go ahead, move forward.
Can you see it?
Not yet.
Oh, this slide?
This slide, there we go.
Yeah.
So let's say, again, requesting permission to be nerdy. Let's say I've done everything right. And at age 60, I have a $700,000 401k. And my plan is to contribute 20,000 each year, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64. You can see that I'm making $20,000 contributions and compounded at 7.2%. And the only reason I use that number is that is the number at which money doubles every 10 years. So it's just easy math. So by 65, my contributions represent an additional $124,000. My $700,000 has compounded to $1 million, and I am sitting pretty with $1,144,000 at age 65. Okay. Now, here's the amusing thing. If I do not contribute a dime to that $700,000, but
Yes.
instead delay its distribution by 2 years, so
Yes.
66 and 67, that
Yes.
compounding is actually more valuable, and I end up with more money if I just delay distribution, but spend the $100,000 that I would have saved. And so what
Right.
I'm doing, hear ye, everybody out there, you have permission to live your lives. Like, go get it.
That's amazing. That's a great way of like looking at it and dividing it up.
I jokingly call it the year of not saving. When you sort of take off any kind of saving from your retirement at age 55 and then go on a big sabbatical at 56. And even if your employer doesn't cooperate, I mean, we've found ways to skin that cat. You know, you take the 2 weeks of vacation, and then you ask for dispensation to work remotely for 2 weeks before and 2 weeks after, as you sit in an Airbnb in a different city or country.
Right,
Um,
right. Oh, so it almost sounds like you should be adding a travel agency along to Madrina Molly.
well, there you go. We'll add a travel agency. I think that's a great idea.
I love it. So, um, you, what's the most important advice you have for someone who may be really underfunded for retirement? I mean, you just gave some advice to just start saving right now. Like there's no better time than the present. But do you have any other advice that you might want to share?
Actually, I have the opposite, and it's the advice that graphic would have led you to, and that's, believe it or not, saving more is not the magic answer, because you probably
Okay.
can't save more. What
Okay.
you can do is you can avoid spending down too early and give what you do have the opportunity to compound. Um,
Right.
and it is only the people who refuse to take on a slightly more aggressive portfolio who suffer, because in the history of the modern stock market, which is 100 years of data at this point, the market has never failed us. I know that there's lots of crazy going on, but there's always lots of crazy going on. And the market, by the way, the market will eventually correct in a big way. And smart people know not to fear that, but also to see opportunities. So I would say that if there was one important piece of advice, it's it's hard to fund a 40-year retirement even with a lot of money. Setting yourself up not to spend down is important. And if you um, even if you are partially retired, I guess I'm a fan of semi-retirement,
Yeah.
whereby you supplement your Social Security, let's say, with that proverbial Etsy shop, because $10,000 that you are making in your Etsy shop is $10,000 that you are not taking out of your portfolio and continues to grow. And
Right.
so that's what makes the difference. That's really what makes the difference.
I love that. So people join Madrina Molly. Tell me what that looks like. What is happening? I become a member today. What happens?
Uh,
Talk me through the process.
so the sign up is on my website, www.madrinamolly.com.
I'll show that later. Yeah.
Thank you. And with my welcome email comes a few things. One is a private email address to ask me questions. And I like to think that I am generous with my time. I will spin up a Zoom if there is a complex question to be discussed. And then there is a community behind the paywall that only members have access to, where I will anonymize the question and the answer so that everybody can receive this information. My assumption is that if one person is asking it,
Yeah.
everybody
Exactly.
is asking it. And the
Absolutely.
financial planning domain is a big area. It's not just investing. Investing is actually kind of the academic part of it. It's taxes, it's inheritance, it's Social Security, it's Medicare, it's the healthcare marketplace, um, employer benefits, student benefits. I mean, it's just a huge domain. Um, and the reason the CFP board makes such a big deal is like an accountant. And I don't know if you've ever seen what torture we give accountants, but they need to pass 4 very hard tests.
Yes.
CFPs need to take 7 courses and pass an all-day test. So we are generalists in a great deal of information, and it's our job to explain what best practices. And I'm very careful about that because sadly, in my industry, there are a lot of people who get stuff wrong. And I hear, unfortunately, horror stories. Um, so when
So what do your members most want to know? Like
Oh
once they
gosh,
get in there.
I think that it depends on the age of the member.
Yeah.
But, a lot of people want to know how to do impact investing, and I teach them how to open up a self-directed Roth IRA, even if they're not accredited investors. There's nothing to keep a non-accredited investor from using $2,000 and doing crowdfunding for impact. So, that's a popular one. I think that, we discuss, ta I'm so scared to use the word taxes because I just don't wanna turn off the universe. No, you are not expected to learn the intricacies of the stock market, and you are not expected to learn the intricacies of taxes. If you had wanted to know these things, everybody out there, you would have already done it as a hobby. Um,
Exactly.
it's not important, but I think the logic why certain instruments are the right instruments for something and why you would choose account A type over account B, just that knowledge helps people proceed with confidence. And as I said, a lot of my members are people who want to ask better questions of their financial advisors, or they want to ask better questions of their partners who are managing the family assets, or they're managing for themselves, and they want to make up for lost time with this education.
And it's no more of this. It's just
No
like
mo no, no.
let's just do it.
You know,
Um,
you started and you said, I love this. We start with, $30 trillion dollars in the hands of women.
yeah,
30 trillion. That number has been adjusted up to 34 trillion, and that number
interesting.
keeps adjusting up. And to be clear, yes, some piece of that will be what we call the great wealth transfer, and that's because women do live longer than men. So as the boomers pass on, they will leave their wealth to their daughters, and their daughters are going to outlive their daughters' spouses, et cetera, et cetera. But I will tell you, not all of that wealth is inherited. The largest portion, and I secretly believe there's a reason they don't want to estimate that. The largest portion is wealth we have created and earned. So of that 34 trillion, I am reluctant to ascribe it to a great wealth transfer. What it is going on 5 decades now of women in the workplace doing great things and women building value and wealth with their businesses.
Um, and so it's also interesting that you mentioned impact investing with this transfer or these greater. Do you find that women are more interested in impact investing than men?
Yes. Yes. Women, by and large, are more interested in philanthropy. They are more interested in being the change we want to see in the world. And I think that we have moved beyond, as Shirley Chisholm in the 70s said, if they don't give you a seat at the table, you bring your own chair. And we have moved beyond fighting for corporations and legislation to provide equity. If there were, this is going to be sort of a contentious statement, but if there were a moral imperative to do this, they would have done it. I mean, they know that it's good for business. So
Right.
the fact that the power structure will not share with others says that they're not going to, which means the answer is build parallel infrastructure and compete.
Yeah.
And look at Tyler Perry building a studio in Atlanta. Look at Elvest. Um, Look at the brands that are being created by women.
And the
Um,
big surge in femtech health. I
the
mean,
big
fem
surge
health.
in femtech. So the answer
Yeah.
is you won't fund it. We're going to figure out how to get it built, how to get it funded. And that requires all of us. It requires not just the accredited investors, it requires the non-accredited investors. And I spent a lot of time thinking about that. The teachers of the US and how they would know a good ed tech investment the minute they see one. And maybe some of them need to be our next generation of ed tech founders.
Here, here. Well, I'm seeing that we're up on time right now. Sherry, you're amazing. This is for those watching, it's time to take a screenshot. So these are the best ways to get in touch with you. They can join your membership via the madrinamolly.com, correct?
Correct.
All right. And is there anything else that they need to know when they join your membership? Did they mention high performing woman?
They should mention high performing women, but I'm always impressed by the women who take the initiative and join. I want to leave you though with an important thought because you actually said it lyrically at the beginning, and I just want to double down on it. The answer to the question, "What should I invest in?" is always, always, always your health.
Yes.
I would add maybe some skills to it because, there isn't gonna be one lonely banker when we're 85 at the end of the lane to a teller to help us. We're gonna have to learn how to bank on our phone. But the answer is invest in your health. Um, Walk, know your numbers. Just as important as knowing your financial numbers is knowing that glucose number and that cholesterol number and all the
Mhm,
other
mhm.
important things. And so I wanted to leave you on that because I thought you said it earlier and I just didn't wanna let it go.
I love that you say that because I've been investing in my own longevity portfolio is what I call it.
That's
The
right.
things like my infrared sauna at home. Like I make investments in my longevity portfolio that are going to help me live longer. Not just live longer, but span my
Yeah.
health span. The live longer, that longer period of
Well,
being healthy,
that
not
means
just like
that's right, that's right. That's your health span, and you get to spend your money on fun and not on out-of-pocket medical expenses.
yes, exactly. All right. Sherry, thank you. That was brilliant. Many words of wisdom. And again, people, if this is where you get, oops, that was something that I could have shown earlier. But this is where you can get in touch with Sherry and um, onwards and upwards, Sherry. Thank you so much. That was brilliant.
Thank you for having me, Susan.
Yeah, my absolute pleasure.